stop, listen, and ask yourself, have you ever pondered at the idea that there may be something to the other side? If so, and you're hearing my voice for the first time, then you may have just fallen into the void.
This is Emmanuel from Orlando, Florida, and I am falling with G-Man into the void.
Well, hey there, hello there, bats and ghouls, and welcome to another spooky, adventurous episode of Into the Void, the podcast that talks about anything and everything paranormal. I am your ghost host with the most, G-Man, bringing you more of the latest spooks that go bump in the night, real ghostly encounters, Halloween events, and Halloween-related news. First and foremost, I'd like to give a big thank you to my last guest, Mr. Rick West, for joining me in the last episode. Be sure to tune in as my guests and I discuss all the happenings of what Midsummer Scream had announced about their biggest little event, Awaken the Spirits. While you're at it, be sure to grab your ticket for what is expected to be one of the hottest Halloween events this summer. For more information and to purchase your ticket, visit their website, midsummerscream.org. That's midsummerscream.org. And now, it's time to do what I love to do, and that is give a big shout out to Something About the Unknown podcast. Tune into a new podcast searching for things that are, you guessed it, unknown. Hosted by filmmakers Eric Kaslov and Larry Sands, along with paranormal and urban explorer Heather Escalera. Join this ghostly trio as they talk about the unknown with guests who are willing to share their own experiences and expertise in all things paranormal related and UFO encounters. Bats and ghouls, do me a favor and pop some delicious popcorn, put on your tinfoil hats, and tune in on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Anchor, and Spotify, all while asking yourself, do you believe in the unknown? That's Something About the Unknown podcast. And of course, what kind of podcast would we be without a word from our sponsor for this episode?
Hail, thine old father. For only he can supply such jewelry, watches, axes, and apparel as one would find at VikingJeans.com. Find Viking styles for all members of your family. Lo, do they have styles for thine father? Lo, do they have styles for thine mother? Lo, they have styles for thy brother and sister too. Viking Jeans has the Norse wear for you and yours. So before riding into battle alongside the Valkyries and the mighty Thor with his trusted hammer Mjolnir, be sure to visit VikingJeans.com. That's VikingJeans.com.
All right, welcome back, bats and ghouls, to the podcast that brings more spooky fun indoors and outdoors. As I mentioned in the shout out before the sponsor ad, today's guest is a paranormal investigator and urban explorer. When she's not off exploring abandoned places or collecting EVPs as substantial evidence, she spends her time at her day job as the floor manager for a program that works with disabled adults. And if that's not impressive enough, she works in the afternoons in a group home with adults who have behavioral issues. One could argue that her journey into the paranormal started as a child when she experienced seeing a shadow creature that came from out under her bed. As the years went on, the more experiences she had, the more her curiosity grew. Well, bats and ghouls, it's time once again to grab your crystals and light some sage as we take a walk into the void to get a better understanding for what it means to urban and paranormal explore. So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to the woman who is known on Instagram as GhostGirl321, a woman who looks at the paranormal straight in the eye and says, well, that's interesting. Tell me more. A woman who is soon to be everyone's favorite paranormal pal. Bats and ghouls, I give you the one, the only, Heather Escalera. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That was an awesome intro. I was like, wow.
Awesome.
Super cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, again, a real honor to have you on the show. So thank you. I appreciate this.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you asking me to come on the show. I was like, what? Into the void? Okay, definitely.
So we're going to get into some creepy paranormal talk. But first, I would like to talk with you about the work you do that is not paranormal. Now, you work with adults with special needs as a floor manager, correct?
Right.
So what is the role of a floor manager?
Well, it's a day program. So my role is just to make sure everyone has like their arts and crafts projects, and I do all the orders and just make sure all the staff gets everything that they need
Oh, nice.
for the day. Because we have, I think, about 64 clients in our program right now. So
Awesome.
yeah, so I just make sure everything is going good and everyone is taken care of.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love arts and crafts.
Oh, I love it because I get to order it all the time. Every month I put in orders. And
Oh,
I'm
nice.
Like, that's sitting on my computer doing orders.
Oh, sweet. That's epic. So what made you want to choose this profession?
Well, my sister, she's actually has Down syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah. So when she was little, growing up through high school, I just wanted to volunteer like with the disabled classrooms. So I started to do all that type of stuff. And then as they got older, my grandma, she had worked in a group home in a big, huge facility. But she was she did like communications and like all kinds of other stuff. So she wasn't with the kids because she worked with kids, but she was like in the background. So growing up, I always went with her to work too.
Oh, nice.
So I always kind of was around it a little bit. And then my mom had my sister, and then I just got into it from there. And then I started working in group homes, and that was it.
Have you always worked with adults, or have you worked with children also?
I've only worked with adults.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you this, because I'm curious. A lot of people seem to have their own opinions about this, but how is it working with adults, or how is working with adults with special needs different from working with children with special needs?
Well, I haven't really worked with children with special needs, but
Right.
I mean, adults, it can be a challenge. You know, it's not the easiest job, but I feel like it's the most rewarding job that someone could probably do because, you know, we're just helping them with their day-to-day life and just trying to make sure that the things that they can't do, we can help them.
Right.
And just make their life just easier and fun, you know, because they can't do a lot of things that we can just get up and go and do. So whether it's transporting them somewhere or doctor's appointments or just hanging out at home doing fun stuff. So
Nice.
yeah.
So between doing the podcast that you are a part of, which we'll get to here soon, and your occupation, where do you find the time to urban and paranormal explore?
Shoot, anytime.
Okay.
Anytime I can get, if I get off work and it's nighttime and I'm like, all right, I got 3 hours before I need to go to sleep, I will use that time
Nice.
to go and find somewhere close or even take a visit to my local cemetery, you know, because you can't go wrong with that. So if I find out I don't want to really drive super far or things might be a little further, I just go to my cemetery at local and just set up there and see what I can get.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Heather, I got to say, you know, your job sounds pretty, I wouldn't say, it sounds demanding actually. And yet also very gratifying. So I would just, you know, I speak for all of us here at Into the Void when I say that we thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. So let's switch gears here and talk about this podcast. I know we just asked a question, but let's really get into this now. The podcast that you're a part of called Something Unknown Podcast. Now, before we do, I believe it's time for a word from our sponsor.
Hail, thine old father, for only he can supply such jewelry, watches, axes, and apparel as one would find at VikingJeans.com. Find Viking styles for all members of your family. Lo, do they have styles for thine father? Lo, do they have styles for thine mother? Lo, they have styles for thy brother and sister too. Viking Jeans has the Norse wear for you and yours. So before riding into battle alongside the Valkyries and the mighty Thor with his trusted hammer Mjolnir, be sure to visit VikingJeans.com. That's VikingJeans.com.
All right, Bats and Ghouls, welcome back. I am here with the one and only Heather Escalera, a.k.a. Ghost Girl 321. So, Heather, before the break, I had mentioned the podcast that you are a part of called Something Unknown, hosted by filmmakers Eric Kaslov and Larry Sands, who have another podcast called Something Something Podcast.
Yes, they have. Yeah, they do. And I think they also have a horror film.
Oh, wow.
Another
Okay.
podcast too that they talk about like different horror films and things like that.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's epic. Well, for the bats and ghouls listening who have never heard the show, in your words, what is Something Unknown podcast about?
It's just something about the unknown, you know. I feel like it's just gonna give everybody a platform to listen to things that aren't normally talked about. And I think we want to really get in depth on a lot of different topics, conversations going on, things like that. So we just really want to get into depth of things that people aren't talking about, but that they're the unknown.
Okay.
And just if someone has questions about things and they don't know where to look, that's where you can go. You can go to us.
I love that. And how did you get involved with the show?
Okay, so it's really cool. So got to be like 2 years now. They actually interviewed me on their Something podcast during Halloween.
Oh, okay.
So I was during their Halloween time paranormal investigator interview. So we did that. And then literally like days later, they pitched me the idea of coming out with another podcast, Something About the Unknown, and talking about paranormal, UFOs, cryptid things, all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, totally.
Sign me up. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. And as we mentioned, they are both filmmakers.
Right.
So what's it like working with two filmmakers?
I've learned a lot of filmmaking stuff.
Okay.
And lingo.
Okay.
I do have to say that. And I think it's really cool because they do all the editing and they do all the graphics. So seeing them do all that type of stuff is really neat.
What's some of the lingo that you've learned from them?
I think it's like just equipment. Like they'll talk about different cameras sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or Larry and I met up a few months ago out in LA to shoot some stuff. And he's like, oh, I have this and this camera. I'll bring that. And I'm like, okay.
That's
so
wonderful.
Really neat. Yeah.
That's really cool. So with your field of expertise concerning the paranormal, did you ever expect to be on a podcast such as the one that you are on now?
No, I never did. I never thought that opportunity would come about. And I feel like it was totally meant to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Your involvement with the podcast has led to some exciting events that have happened. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong here. It's the Cambry House.
Right.
Okay. So the Cambry House in Vavu, Illinois.
Nauvoo.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Vavu. I think I wrote Vavu instead of Nauvoo. Okay. So Nauvoo, Illinois.
Right.
Would you care to elaborate more on this?
Yeah. So we're going to host a haunted horror film festival and paranormal investigation.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty big. We're working really hard on it. We actually just had a super cool meeting, all of us through Skype yesterday.
Awesome.
So that was a lot of fun, and it's getting more real, getting everybody who's involved on and talking about it more. But yeah, we just want filmmakers, horror filmmakers or short movies and stuff to submit, and then we'll go ahead and show them at the festival.
Oh, wonderful.
And that'll be during the day, and at the nighttime is when we'll start doing the paranormal investigation.
Okay.
And haunted tour of the location.
Now, so the location you said is a haunted tour also.
Right.
Now, I was listening to an episode that you guys were talking about this, and you also mentioned that the place is itself haunted. Is that correct? So what's the history behind that?
Well, I'm reading on it.
Okay.
Still.
Okay.
I'm getting more familiar with it myself. But yeah, I just know the whole property just has paranormal activity. I know the owners has been in their family for a really long time.
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've had a lot of experiences there and everything. So, but they did send me like this really cool. They just sent me just all the information for it. So I am reading on that right now.
Awesome. Has the information that you've gotten, has it kind of become like creepier and creepier, or is it more like, oh, okay, I kind of figured this would be the kind of paranormal stuff that would go on?
Probably like the normal paranormal stuff.
Okay.
But that's just reading it. I mean, you have to be there to experience.
Right.
To really experience it.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Man, this is amazing, Heather. Seriously, this is really cool. It sounds like you've got a lot going on for you in this podcast. And, I'm proud to say that I have listened to 33 episodes
wow.
of the podcast that are out so far. And I know you guys are making more episodes.
Right.
And I always look forward to the next episode. However, I would like to talk now about this show's main theme, and that is your involvement with the paranormal. So which came first, paranormal investigating or urban exploring?
Well, I think as I grew up into my adult, I think it was more urban exploring at first. And then when I started really wanting to get serious about the paranormal, then the paranormal came in.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you believe in the paranormal before you started exploring, or was this something you gradually picked up on during your adventures?
No, I believed in the paranormal before I started exploring. Growing up in my home where I grew up, I had multiple experiences as a child.
Right.
And having those experiences and then growing up to my adult life, now that I think back on them, then I questioned, what was that? What did I see? What did I experience? And that's what really got me into it.
Okay. Yeah, I want to ask you about that too, because you mentioned that you had an experience as a child.
Right.
So you said that it was a shadow creature that came out from under your bed.
Yeah, it was so weird. And I remember that night, like it was yesterday. Like I remember I was laying in bed and the hall light was on and my door was cracked open. And then out of nowhere, this shadow, and it wasn't a mist because I couldn't see through it. It was a solid shadow.
Solid black
something.
mass?
Yeah, it was something.
Interesting.
And it just shot out from under my bed and into the hallway. And then the little light that was coming in from the hallway to my room, it blocked out that light. So I knew there was something there.
Okay.
So that was my very first paranormal experience. But I was young, so I didn't really I don't think I was scared.
Okay.
I wasn't scared of nothing. I was just kind of like, what the heck was that type of thing. But that was it. I never really thought anything else into it.
And then from there, it was just like, I'm more curious about the paranormal. Let's start, discovering more about it. Or
well, other little things was happening to the home. Then we moved. And then there was nothing about the paranormal. Nothing was on TV.
Okay.
Until Ghost Hunters came out.
I'm so glad you asked that or you said that because I was gonna bring that up. I was listening to an episode on your guys' podcast, and I noticed that you guys talk about the Ghost Adventures and how that really was like a big influence for you.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big influence for a lot of people when it comes to paranormal hunting.
I think so, because it's not something that everybody does. It's not really out there like, oh, what do you do on your side for your fun time? Oh, I like to go hunt ghosts and sit in dark basements. Like, who really does that?
Right, yeah.
Or who talks about that?
Yeah.
But so like Ghost Hunters came out and I was like, oh my gosh, people really do this? So I was just watching it and then I started reading books and just little things like that.
Okay.
And then I remember there was some other show called Paranormal State.
Oh, yes.
And
I remember
that one also came out.
Okay.
So I was watching that a little bit. And then I remember this one time I went to Kmart. They don't have Kmarts anymore.
I know.
I love Kmart.
I know.
So we went to Kmart. I was with my grandma. And there was like that bin like at Walmart that had like the $5 movies. And there was a movie there and it said hauntings around America or something like that. So I'm like, oh, I want to buy it. So I bought it and I think it had like the Queen Mary on there and like some other little documentaries. But the very last documentary was the very first episode of Ghost Adventures.
Wow.
When they were like not even on TV yet.
Right, yeah.
And when they came on TV, I'm like, wait a minute. I have a video of probably their very first low budget investigation that they did. So I still have that.
That's awesome. No, that's great.
That was super cool.
So you've been urban exploring, you paranormal investigate. And when you paranormal investigate, obviously, you watch these YouTube channels, you watch these shows, and you're watching it and you're like, oh man, like they caught all this, evidence.
Right.
And clearly it's edited. I mean, not the evidence, but just, all the waiting that they do. And then they don't show you all that. They show you like the stuff that they picked up on. And when you're paranormal exploring or working with the paranormal or, doing your investigations, have you ever experienced anything negative while investigating?
I haven't had anything negative happen to me while I'm out there, thank goodness. But no, I haven't experienced anything really negative. I've had strange feelings like, oh, I probably shouldn't go in there.
Oh, okay.
Even though I do.
Right, yeah.
But nothing actually like physically has happened to me or nothing.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
No, I mean, it is good.
Knock on wood, then, nothing does happen.
I guess we kind of want to have that experience too,
right?
In a way,
yeah.
but
like in a safe manner.
way. Yeah, you don't want like something to really throw something at you. But then kind of was like, well, that's kind of cool, but not really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So your urban exploring seems to take you to quite a few historical locations,
right?
What was one of your favorite historical locations so far?
So far, there's this place in my hometown that's just really cool. It's this house. And unfortunately, they wouldn't allow me to do any type of paranormal investigating in there. But it was really neat to learn the history about where I live. and going to that specific house that I went to. So that was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I really liked that.
Awesome. So before the show, and we had email communication, and I had asked you a couple questions, and one of them was that you told me one of your places that you would love to explore, and that was. Do you remember what the answer was?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Egypt.
Yes.
The pyramids.
Yes, the pyramids of Egypt.
Oh my gosh. You know, and that just Egypt in general is so mysterious.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
and then the things that they find in just the Egyptians and how they created these, you know, pyramids, even though they did say, I guess, aliens maybe
right. The whole theory of aliens building. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, it kind of works though. I mean, you got the podcast that has, you know, paranormal and UFO stuff.
I know, so you would just go together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I watched this documentary on Tubi. I love Tubi. But I watched this documentary on there, and they had paranormal investigators go out into the pyramids and things like that. So that was like super cool. And I was like, oh yeah, you know what? That would be really neat, because just from what I've like watched and stuff, all the documentaries about like the pyramids, I mean, their afterlife to them was more greater than their life on Earth, you know? So when they're buried in these tombs, they have all that, you know, jewels and just carriages and all kinds of awesome things, but for their afterlife. So I'm thinking there has to be spirits and stuff around in those pyramids, because if they're so big on afterlife, there has to be that type of energy still there.
Right. Yeah. So, that would be one heck of an investigation.
That'd be so cool.
Going down in the pyramids and then just sitting there like in the complete.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that it's you have these pyramids that are built up, but the tombs are underneath.
Right.
So you could imagine how quiet and eerie it would be.
Oh yeah, and dark.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're around the tombs and you're around whatever is still down there, or you know, whatever hasn't been, you know, discovered yet. I mean, oh, that would be
that'd just be the dream.
I get chills just thinking about that.
No, I'm just like, wow. But now that you said it that way, like going down the basement and walking down there, but it's true, like totally, it'd be really cool.
So I've noticed on your Instagram that you explore. You do all these explorations by yourself. But do you have someone else that comes with you?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly just drag around who I know is not working, or who I know is sitting at home, like my siblings.
Right, okay.
Or some friends, you know, they come along with me sometimes. And
awesome.
Everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, it's fun. I like taking them out because I like to share my adventures.
Yeah.
With like, you know, just people that I like to be around and stuff. And then they always have fun. And then they're like, when's the next one?
Right.
I'm like, oh, wow. Like I knew they would have fun, but I didn't know if they'd want to go again. Because sometimes we're walking, we're hiking, we're looking for the place. We can't find it. I mean, but once you get there, it's like totally rewarding.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned that you guys are walking and hiking these places. So it's a lot of time and patience when it comes to it. So when you go out there and you explore, or you take EVPs, I mean, are you sitting out there for hours on end, or does it sometimes just happen right away?
Oh no, you sit there.
Okay.
You sit there. If you don't have patience, it's not the field
See, that's
you're gonna be in.
That's one of the biggest things, Bats and Ghouls, is that, you know, you can go out there and you can explore, but you got to understand that there's patience involved with this.
Yeah.
I've been on investigations where people are very impatient. They want something to happen right away, and I'm just like, that's not how it works.
Right.
You know, it's not on our time, it's on the spirit's time.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, I mean, these shows that we watch are great and they're entertaining, but that's the thing, is for entertainment.
Right.
You know, and who knows how long they were able to sit there for weeks on end in gathering their evidence.
Right.
We can't sit places for weeks on end. So I think when people go out, oh, that's fun, I watched this show, they did that, and they go on a real one, they're like, well, what is this?
Right.
But that's reality. Like, you can go somewhere and sit there for hours and not get anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, or you'll get lucky and you're sitting there for, 10 minutes and get something.
Absolutely.
But it's just that waiting game. But in the end, that's what it is when you get that one little piece of evidence, or that EVP on your recorder that you didn't hear, but you go home and listen to hours of audio and look at hours of video, and then you hear that one little whisper or breath or name. You're like, okay, we're doing it again.
Yeah,
I don't care how long I was there for.
Yeah, it's very gratifying once you pick something up. Yeah. So is there a second dream location that you would like to explore and investigate?
Oh, man. I would like to go just like to any jail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any jail or like prison?
Not the answer I was expecting, I'll be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's different. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know a specific one, but I would love to go investigate like a jail or a prison.
What about Alcatraz?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Because a lot of people have been to Alcatraz, for the touristy stuff, but there are some that have actually been able to investigate, and the evidence that they find in there is, wow. I mean, just unbelievable.
Well, you can imagine. I mean, there's probably just so many unsettled spirits in there.
There's
I mean,
gotta
just
be.
the horrific things that happened, and we're humans, and just the vibe of the place and everything. So.
I mean, that place wasn't exactly, a resort.
Right.
I mean, a lot of negative things went down in that prison.
Yeah.
And even after when the prison was shut down, I'm pretty sure I'm saying this wrong, but I believe there was a Native American tribe that moved into Alcatraz. And they lived there for quite some time before they were booted out. There's a documentary on it. There's a huge documentary about what happened and how they ended up taking over Alcatraz and living there and creating a life for them for a while. But even then, they experience some very strange and odd behaviors, not just within the tribe, but also amongst themselves and in the jail itself. I mean, you had people explaining that there were screams that happen. There's an area. It's going to get a little graphic here, Bats and Ghouls, so I do apologize. But there is an area where they would hang the inmates. And every so often, the caretakers there would hear this hatch open up. And it sounded like somebody had dropped from the top down. And when they go to check it, nothing. The hatch is closed. Sometimes you get people get touched. They get pushed. People have had unsettling feelings there. So I'm just kind of giving you stuff for in case you ever do get a chance to go there. But it's got its activity. That's for sure.
And you could imagine it's on that little island.
Yeah.
Just full of water.
Yeah.
So I mean, they can't go nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they wanted to jump, they'll just die.
Yeah, and I mean, you got the story of the three men that did escape.
Yeah.
But we don't know for sure if they actually made it across or if they drowned or whatnot. But yeah, at the same time, I mean, it's a small island. It's, I believe, shark-infested waters. And the tide there gets pretty rough,
right?
And especially at night. So I mean, yeah,
so they have nowhere to go.
Yeah,
so I could imagine just also the feeling of being in a cell, but feeling of being like, even if I broke out, there's nowhere I could go.
Exactly,
because I will just die.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, Heather, this has been such a blast talking with you and allowing our Bats and Ghouls to get to know who you are. So could you tell us again, where can we watch you do your work and explore the paranormal?
You can find me on Instagram at ghostgirl321. So that's the only platform that I have right now.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Awesome.
I'm doing that.
Well, we are running out of time, but before we do end here, I just wanted to ask, is there anything else you'd like to tell our Bats and Ghouls about you or about the podcast or about what you guys are doing or maybe some upcoming episodes? Because I'm curious myself.
Yeah, we actually just filmed an episode last weekend.
Wonderful.
For Something About the Unknown, and it is a really great episode. It's a returning guest that we've had already, but he's been doing some really cool things over quarantine.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So we're really excited to talk to him about that. So that should be coming out pretty soon.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, just wait up for all my adventures. I have a few things planned. And then October for the festival, I know a lot of fun things will be happening for that. And, just follow the podcast and mine and the horror film Instagram, and then you'll have all the information for that and all the stuff that we're doing. So
awesome. Well, that sounds like it's going to be fun. I love your guys' podcast.
Thank you.
Like I said, I've listened to all 33 episodes. I know you got more coming along the way. Every time I'm working on my show, I stop and I put your episodes on, and I can't get over how great all three of you work. You guys work so well together. I love it. So, all right. Well, I believe that is all the time we have for this episode. But before we go, it's time for one last word from our sponsor for this episode.
Looking for quality Viking apparel inspired by the Norse gods of old? Well, there's only one place you can be sure to find the gear you're searching for: VikingJeans.com. Unlike other Viking-themed retailers, Viking Jeans supplies handcrafted jewelry, watches, home decor, and apparel. They even forge and engrave steel axes. Viking Jeans is sure to have something to satisfy your fascination towards Norse mythology. Be sure to visit VikingJeans.com. That's VikingJeans.com.
All right. Well, listeners, if you enjoyed what you heard here, be sure to tune into any of our previous episodes, which you can find on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, give a follow on both of our social media pages, Facebook at Pod Paranormal 87, Instagram at Void Podcast 18. You can also visit our website, intothevoidpod.com. That's intothevoidpod.com to check out all of our latest in-studio picks and more. Did you know we have a channel? Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Into the Void Podcast. And before I forget, check out our show store on Etsy. That's right. We have a show store on Etsy. You can be the proud owner of some amazing Into the Void memorabilia like mugs, t-shirts, pillows, and more. You can find it all in our store. Visit Etsy.com and search Into the Void Shop Store. That's Into the Void Shop Store. Well, I'd like to once again give a big thank you to Heather Escalera for joining me on this episode. And speaking of episodes, be sure to join me in the next one as I talk with creative director and HauntCon creator Kevin Valentine of Creep It Real OC. All right, bats and ghouls, I've got to get going because the Invisible Man and I are hosting a charades party. So until next time, I'm G-Man, and I want to thank you for falling with me into the void.